do you have any tips for running workshops with casual teams? I manage 40 plus casuals in a live performance venue environment. There's 3 things. You might come across, have clients in the future that are facing similar things. So I thought this could be interesting, but with a team of 40 casuals, I reckon the best way to do it would be when everybody comes into work for that event or that performance, is use that as a way to connect people at this before work starts, so to speak. So in the check-in meeting, because I imagine in a live performance environment, you have 40 ushers or 40 staff, and you have some sort of all-in team meeting where the leader announces a whole bunch of stuff about their performance. You could literally do the weekly retro check-in at that moment. Funnily enough, I didn't mention this before, but there's sort of 3 weekly exercises you can run with the game. You could do the weekly retro. So looking back, what did I feel this last week? You could do weekly intention. So what do I want to feel? What do I want to feel this week? Or you could just do current state. And Sophie and I have been playing around with, actually, Sophie, you need to get the credit for this because you're the one who came up with the idea, whether or not you know it or not. We sometimes do, let's just do current state. How am I feeling right now? And it's sort of a combination of both retro and intention setting, because you're just in that moment going, okay, I'm flicking through the cards. This is how I feel. And then the reason why might be related to something that happened in the past, or it might be related to something that's happening this coming week. So it just creates a slightly different, a different frame for it. And I think in a performance environment with 40 plus people, if you have a meeting before the shift starts, the current state check-in is the most beautiful, most simple way just to connect with each other, learn from each other. I also think in that environment, maybe using it in one-to-one. So similar, Judith, to what we talked about there. If those 40 people will have a leader, and I'm assuming it might be Jessie, to use it as one-to-one, just to learn more about her employees or learn more about your employees. What drives them? If you know I want to feel free and brave and inspired, my hope is that you'll help me feel more of that. And I don't want to feel anxious, alone, and incapable. And what could you do to help me overcome that or help me manage it? And in a team of 40 casuals, it doesn't have to be a long session to get to that stage. You can do it over coffee over 45 minutes and come to those cards, come to those top 3 cards for each. So those would be the ways I would use it for that environment. And then the final bit I think is cool, related to emotional contagion, is that in a performance venue environment, or any environment where people are dealing with customers or stakeholders, emotional contagion exists. So how I feel will be caught by you all, especially if we're face-to-face, but even through this. And so they could use the cards to have a conversation about how they want their customers to feel. So we might want our customers to feel, well, surprised, or we don't want them to feel confused, because that leads to a conversation about going, well, if I'm confused as an employee, our customers are definitely going to be feeling confused. And if I'm feeling anxious, they're going to be feeling anxious. But if I'm feeling inspired and delighted or brave, then my customers are more likely to catch that. So having that conversation with that type of team is really powerful, and it allows you to have a conversation about the power of emotional contagion. And if anybody's interested in emotional contagion, Sigal Bassard and Mandy O'Neill have done some incredible research into this. And just type in Mandy O'Neill or Sigal Bassard emotional contagion. They're the people who are behind, if you've seen the very first video in the masterclass, behind this whole game. And so they've got some really, and there's a really beautiful HBR article, which is super simple to read as well, that just gives you the high level of it. And I talk about that stuff a lot in the sessions I run. The existence of emotional contagion, how we catch emotions like the common cold, whether we want to believe it or not. That's how they're slightly, not that terminology at the moment with the current state of COVID, and that's a little bit, can be a little bit confronting, but we do catch emotions. And so let's be aware of that. And then that change, that almost makes, sometimes for some people, makes this conversation really tangible. It's like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, I've experienced that before. Because everybody's been in a room where somebody's been feeling a certain way, and all of a sudden that brings the rest of the room into that sort of emotional space. So